Hey there, Rhonda Palazari here with you today to share with you some techniques using distress paints and stencils. Now, if you haven't dived into distress paints, they're really super cool, kind of very fluid paints. These were put out by Tim Holtz and Ranger earlier this year in January 2003 CHA. They have some really unique properties because while they're wet, you can mix it with a little bit of water. And they come very fluid and marble-like, but once it dries, it sets. So that makes them very, very cool. But you can also use them with stencils. So I'm going to show you some quick tips and technique using stencils from the Crafters Workshops. This is my kaleidoscope stencil. It's in 6x6 and I'm just going to be using it today. I have a couple others with them this year and even more coming out at CHA Summer, which is now Create and Connect show. But let's just get started. So for this first tag, what I want to do is show you how you can create kind of a tone-on-tone background using the stencil. Now this is Seedless Grapes. It's a beautiful, beautiful purple. You can see it's very fluid in this bottle. So if I push down really, really hard, like if I did this, and you can see I'm giving too much pressure and squeezing too much, it's just going to bleed through, which that in itself is a pretty cool tag because I like that little bit of distress look, but you may not want that. So just be mindful when you're pushing down on this. So I'm going to start with a new tag. And I'm just going to go very light. And you can see it almost has those little bit of streaks in it. And that's a cool look too. If you just did it in one direction, you get these almost wood-like streaks to it. So I'm going to lift this up and you can see. So see, even then it was a little too much pressure for that. But while this is still wet, I'm going to set that tag aside. I'm bringing out a new tag. But before I put this down, I'm going to wet this paint with a little bit of water, which makes it extremely fluid. You can see it's moving all around there. And it almost dilutes it just a little bit to give it a different look. So when I place this upside down onto my stencil, you can see there's some paint that had bled through on the background, which is just cool because I'm going to take a paper towel and I'm going to move it onto the background of this tag that I just stamped with that same purple. Okay, I'm leaving some white areas and covering some other areas, so when I pick this up, you get this kind of cool tone-on-tone tag using one stencil and one distress paint. So that's super cool. Let's clean up this stencil real quick before I show you the next one, which is it's almost like a two-tone stencil. This is just hand sanitizer. Because it has alcohol in it, it cleans up this paint really well, and I can do it at my desk without having to go to the sink. So it's just a great way to clean up these stencils quickly. And my craft mat. I'm going to make sure I get both sides. Okay. So for this next one, I'm going to start again with a plain stencil because I like to get multiple pulls out of this. If I'm going to use the paint, I want to make sure I'm using it wisely. So I just create in pairs to help me do that. So again, light, and I'm going to show you what this looks like as a streak. I'm going to just kind of gently pull that out. Doesn't that look pretty as streaked? If I put it back down and I squeeze a little more, you can see it's darker on this side and lighter on that side. If I go in the different direction, it kind of blends those streaks a little more. but I kind of like a little bit of those. So I'm going to lift this up, and you can see how very cool that is. But while this is still wet, spray it with my mister. You can see it's kind of fluid on there. Let me dry this a little bit. I'm going to take my tag and I'm going to stamp with the stencil. This time I'm going to gently roll with a paper towel, pressing that ink or that paint right down into that tag. And then I'll take, why don't we do some mustard seed. And I'm going to do that same technique. This time I'm kind of swirling it on. And I'm going to add some orange in. Gentle touch, light touch. I don't want to push this under. Okay, I'm going to take off the excess with the paper towel. When I lift this up, I get this really cool two-tone look to it, where the paint is, where the stencil stamp has just a little bit of that manila edge to it, and then the colors are bled through it. So very cool technique. I hope you enjoyed the video today. If so, check out my other videos here on YouTube.